here is how we can create effective prompts to get better results from Claude all the time. So the way we can structure our prompts should be something like this. So here we have a prompt which has three parts. All right. So the first part should be the stage, which basically gives a bit of context on who we are and our objectives. And the second part of the prompt should be more of the task itself that we want to get achieved. And then the third part is basically the rules, essentially how we want our task to be done, right? So if you look at the whiteboard, we can break down a prompt to be the stage and the task, and then finally the rules. All right. So now let's go through each of these sections in a bit of more depth. So let's start with the stage. All right. So stage is who we are and what essentially is our objective, right? So if you look at the prompt, example prompt that we have over here, we define who we are. We say, I am a CG supervisor on a virtual production feature, right? For a mid-sized studio. So we just give it a bit of context on where we are coming from. And then we say, I'm prepping a pitch to studio leadership next week on which LED volume vendor to use for principal photography, right? So we essentially, like, after we say who we are and, basically where we are working in a virtual production feature and in a mid-sized studio and what we are trying to achieve, we are trying to, basically create this pitch for studio leadership, right? And we give that context, we give the context of who we are and what we want to achieve in the first part. And then comes the second part, which is the task itself. We now directly tell what we want to get done, right? So based on this context, right, of, after we set the stage, now we are saying, okay, using the attached studio tech requirements doc, so which we'll be providing as context, this is the actual task. Research 3 LED volume vendors that fit our needs and draft a one-page trade-off section I can drop into the pitch text, right? So the second part is where we exactly define what we want to get done, right? So that's this task section. And then the third part is the rules section. Okay, so here we define how we want the task to be done, right? So this is the task, and here in the third part we define how we want it to be done. So we say format as a comparison table with columns, vendor, screen tech, pixel, all the different things that we want in the table. And we specifically mention that should be in plain English. There should not be like much jargons. And we also are saying that we want it to be under 400 words and we want to cite the vendor sites. So this is, the rules that we are defining, right? Like for how we want this task to be done based on who we are and what we are trying to achieve, right? So this is the 3-part prompt that always gets better results in Claude. Now let's just feed this prompt to Claude and see the result that it gives us. So let me open up Claude AI, and here we are just pasting that 3-part prompt, and let's give it that context, basically this studio tech requirements doc, right? I've just prepared that doc. I'll attach that here. So it's just a markdown file. We attach additional context. So that's also important, like to have a successful prompt, provide as much documents and context as possible, right? All right. So with this now, when we say run, perfect. It has created the document for us based on our requirements. It, created this table based on, the how we specifically mentioned that we wanted these columns, right? So it has set that up for us, and, it has also finished the task of creating this pitch deck for us for our presentation. So this 3-part formatting of your prompts gives us really good results all the time. So from now on, whenever you create a prompt for Claude, start with the stage, give it context of who you are and your objectives, then define the task itself clearly, giving it as much context as you can, and then give instructions on the rules, basically how you want the task to be done. Thanks for watching, and follow along if you're exploring AI for your VFX and animation pipelines.